Chris.
This is our review of WandaVision, which just premiered on Disney Plus on, what was it? Friday, January 15th, 2021. So it's the 17th we're recording this. Hopefully we'll get it out sometime before the next 2 episodes come out. But anywho, we've actually both seen episodes 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
You give your take, I'll give mine. Let's see.
So, WandaVision, of course, you have Scarlet Witch and Vision from the MCU trilogy.
Hold on, let me ask you a quick question. How many times did they actually refer to her as Scarlet Witch? In the movies?
I think in the Age of Ultron, and then after that, I think they
called her Wanda.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering if somebody got offended. Wonder if the Wiccans got upset because she was being called a witch. But anyway, go ahead.
It's possible.
What you said.
But anyways, yeah. So in case you don't know or remember the Endgame series, or no, it wasn't. It was the one before that, right? Yeah. Well, anyway, Vision died, of course, and then everybody turned to dust, and then everybody was brought back and stuff like that. This takes place either between those or after Endgame. Not exactly for sure. But apparently, like, Wanda is trapped in her mind in her own prison world.
Oh, by the way, spoilers, y'all.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bunch of spoilers here.
Her own prison world where her and Vision are married and they're living happily ever after in this city of sitcoms like Dick Van Dyke's Show and Bewitched and, you know, things like that. So, yeah. First 2 episodes is up on Disney Plus. Is it good? I mean, I don't really have an answer.
What was the first episode like?
The first episode sucked.
Okay, what was the second episode like?
Better.
So the first episode sucked, the second one sucked better. Okay, so...
I know it's going to get better. It's just the very first episode, seriously, the first episode I felt going into this was, I know what they're trying to do, but they did too much of. It's like, I know that they're doing like a thing on Dick Van Dyke, but it's like, okay, I get that. Why do you keep on doing that? It's kind of like the very beginning of Wonder Woman. It takes place in a mall. I know it's in the 80s, but it's like the 80s literally threw up. It's like, we don't need that much 80s, okay? We get it.
That's actually a good take, because really is like somebody just ate a bunch of Dick Van Dyke episodes and then just spewed all over the first episode.
I mean, It was just like, okay, dial it back some. It's like, we get it now, but why do you keep doing this? It's like, stop feeding me this. I understand. So, I mean, yeah, it's like they live in this suburban neighborhood where back in the day when it's like, oh, the wife stays in the kitchen and cooks while the husband goes out and works type of lifestyle, you know? Back when women couldn't vote, basically, or work. So, yeah, they had humor, but it was just... I've seen this in I Love Lucy episodes and Dick Van Dyke episodes and pretty much any comedy that dealt with back in the day. You know, I've seen that type of humor. I'm kind of just not into it. But it was the second episode that was hilarious because you had Vision. You know he's like mechanical. Which I don't understand how all that works because it's like, is he a magical robot? Is he like I don't know. But it's like he tries gum for the first time and it clogs up his gears. So now he's like drunk for some reason. They put on a magic show for the community and all that. It's way better. It's hilarious actually. But the first episode, like, if that's how they was going to lead with it, I understand why they did 2 episodes, why they released them both. Because they knew that this first episode is not going to drag people in to watch this. I really was sitting there like, do I really want to watch the second episode? Because if it's going to be like this, I'm not interested. But they got me hooked on the second one. So I'm glad. They should have made that to be the first episode, honestly. And the episodes are at least 22 minutes long.
Yeah, once you leave the credits and the Marvel Studios opening montage, I actually clocked it. The credits roll in at 7 minutes. These episodes are about 30, 32 minutes long.
Oh,
the end credits are 7 minutes long. That's
yes.
not a joke. And your first 30 seconds, the Marvel Studios intro at the beginning of each episode is another 30 seconds. By the time you're done, you're down to 24 minutes of story in a 32-minute episode.
Mm-hmm. I didn't understand that because as soon as the credits going up, I hit the controller and it said how much more that there was left. I'm like, is there like extra scenes? So I like kept watching, and then it went from like one set of credits to like, I think it was like a different language credits or something.
Yeah.
And it was all of that, and I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, that's horrible.
There's a lot of the online ones do that now because they'll just lump the voice credits for each nation for each language that they do. They'll lump it at the end of the credit sequence and just keep rolling it with usually not even any music or anything to it.
I know I'm going to have to keep watching this because yes, there is a lot of Easter eggs, and it's also all of these Disney Plus TV shows is supposed to connect with future MCU movies. Like I know WandaVision is eventually supposed to have Doctor Strange in it and stuff like that. So it will get there. It's just you just got to take it by bit. I just hope none of them is going to be as bad as the first one. I hope they keep on being good like the second one and not be like the first one, because trust me, I mean, you can totally tell the difference. And I'm not the only one that actually saw that. I saw a lot of reviews going like, yeah, we understand why they did release 2 episodes. And it's like, yeah. So.
Did you recognize the beekeeper reference at the end of episode 2?
No, I did not get that.
Okay. Marvel Geeks, see if you can bear me out. It's been a long while since I've seen this. If you take Disney Plus, go watch Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the first Avengers cartoon they did for like Disney XD. Okay.
Oh, okay.
If you go back there and watch, you'll see these guys in the beekeepers' outfits. Okay. I believe they are members of an organization called AIM, A-I-M, Advanced Idea Mechanics. These are the guys, I believe, who created MODOK. The big head with the tiny little arms who threatens to go around and kill everybody in sight. I believe it's AIM. And you saw the bees because everybody calls them beekeeper outfits. They're supposed to be like some kind of self-contained apparatus, or environmental apparatus or something that they came up with. But they're supposed to be a bunch of like super criminal scientists or something.
Wow.
So that's what that... Double check me, nerds. Make sure I got that right. That's AIM or one of the other little... They tend to butt heads with the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. more often than anybody else. So, but like I said, you should be able to find them. You should be able to find them in the first few episodes of the first Avengers cartoon, right around the time all the guys escaped from the raft. In fact, I think one of them wound up. Spoilers if you haven't seen that 20-year-old cartoon yet. But I believe their scientist supreme is the one that's been stuck on the Skrull ship with with Captain America and the other heroes and villains and stuff who are kidnapped by the Skrulls.
See, I know that there's a bunch of rumors going on about maybe Scarlet Witch is being held captive, so she's stuck in this world. I honestly think how it's going to be is that she's trapped herself in this world in her mind because she misses Vision, because Vision is currently dead. Mm-hmm. He did not come back at the end of Endgame. So I think that that's what it is, And that's why she keeps on, like, you know, when she saw the beekeeper or the guy come from the manhole, she was like, no, 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 and rewind and all that stuff. She's controlling itself, and plus there was a voice that came out saying, who's doing this to you?
Wanda.
Not, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
Wanda, who did this to you?
Yeah. So it's, but I actually think that it's more of her trapped in her own prison instead of somebody trapping her.
That'd be closer to that actual original character, because Wanda Maximoff was always a psycho.
Because I can't. What's the world that she creates that I can't remember?
Oh, House of X.
Yes.
She creates that from scratch.
Because that's what everybody keeps saying, and I believe that. Yeah, that's pretty much it right there.
That would be a hell of a way to introduce the X-Men to the.
Yeah, that's what everybody else says, because she has the power. She literally has the power just to be like, I wish there was more mutants, and then there's mutants. It's like, you know.
Which is why I was always upset they haven't introduced Franklin Richards over to the Fantastic Four yet. Franklin and Valeria need to be introduced to because they're working on another Fantastic Four project. God bless their dumb little hearts, because nobody in Hollywood's gotten it right yet, unless they can get Kevin Feige or John Favreau to step in, and if one of those two guys steps in, they can get Fantastic Four done.
Yes, right. Because I mean the rest of them, they didn't have.
The rest of them were done through Fox. Yes, they had minimal Marvel involvement.
So now they might actually have some good writers and stuff that can actually sit there and tell a good story. And we might actually get a decent and Fantastic Four movie. So we'll see.
So,
there you go.
We got Chris's more fan eye of it. Let me tell you more as a creator what I'm thinking of it. Okay. I can see what these writers are doing now. The beloved, who must not be named online because she doesn't want to be named online, so I will not name her online. LB. Anyway.
I saw that. I saw that.
We actually watched the first episode together, and she's willing to give the second episode a try. But I think we're both a little confused at first, which is she does not understand the Marvel mythos. Okay, she didn't really watch many of the movies or anything. Didn't really see any of the Marvel stuff. I'm the Marvel geek in the family, and I actually prefer DC. She pointed that out last night. You've always been more DC than Marvel. Why are you taking the Marvel side on things? It's...
You got hooked into the stories that are now being told right than what they used to. And now DC is like, they used to be there, but now it's like, what happened?
DC has been Hollywoodized. DC lost control of their stuff a long time ago to Warner Brothers. So they haven't had any control over their TV shows.
Warner Brothers a lot. I'm sorry.
The Warner Brothers TV did a much better job with DC properties than the cinematic side did. They are finally pulling their heads out of their butts. At least they did until Wonder Woman 84. Back to my point here. As a creator, I know what you guys are trying to do. I know what the writers here are trying to do. Okay?
Okay.
They are trying to go through... Okay, Vision is a quantum computer that was developed by Tony Stark to be his artificial intelligence for his home. Okay? When he first created the Iron Man armor, he took a copy of it and installed it into the Iron Man armor and then linked the two together via satellite relay so that Tony would always have access to all the resources of Stark Industries and the other Iron Man armors and stuff. So if an Iron Man armor ever breaks down, he can always call a backup in through using Jarvis is what Vision used to be. Vision is a quantum android that was developed by Hank Pym, Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man. He's whatever. Who plays Hank Pym in Ant-Man? I can't remember. I know who he is. It's Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Douglas. In the comics, Ant-Man, Hank Pym was the guy who created them. In this one, it's Tony Stark creates Ultron. Ultron creates Vision, basically to be his backup, his dragon. And Jarvis winds up getting installed into the Vision. And that's why he can phase through things and stuff. He's a quantum computer. The entire Vision thing is essentially he can make himself as dense as he wants, or he can phase through things because he is in touch with using quantum physics. He can control those things. And he is really basically the most advanced AI in the universe at this point. Wanda has fallen in love with him. She's the Scarlet Witch, and that's where they get into this. They get into a relationship. So when he dies in Infinity War, then she's the one who takes it the hardest. The reason he didn't come back at the end of Endgame is because he is not ready to come back yet. Vision cannot die. Okay, Vision cannot die because he is now a quantum concept. Even if Vision dies in this universe, there will be a Vision alive in another universe who can just duplicate himself and plug himself right back into this universe. Huh. Vision cannot die. Okay.
I did not know none of this.
This is one of those things. It's never been come out and said, but I guarantee you, somebody like Jeff Johns or somebody would take that and write a best-selling book about it. Anyway, I can see what the boys are trying to do when they create this. Boys, girls, all you creators, you know. You're taking a severe risk. These guys took a real risk, especially with that first episode, because neither one of us liked the first episode. The Beloved did not like the first episode. It was confusing to her as a non-Marvel fan. It was frustrating to me because it's like, this is like, Dick Van Dyke's show is a very good comedy show, but not all of them are keepers. Okay, not all of them can have a closet full of walnuts fall on Rob. Okay, for every one of those walnut episodes, there was about a half dozen or so that was just Rob, and you just wanted to strangle somebody. Here's the problem with the show so far. Okay, you can have an episode like this, like episode 1, can go in 3 directions. Okay. What they wanted was a slow burn. Okay, they know who their audience is, and if your audience understands the basic concepts behind your story before you start, you can create what's called a slow burn, which is where you set up an unusual situation, and you just kind of like a fuse that's slowly burning to the dynamite. Okay, instead of just like boom and big explosion, which is what you normally get with Marvel movies, this is like a slow burn. You're watching it burn for 30 minutes, okay, or 24 minutes in this case. If you don't do the slow burn right, if you aren't taking your audience properly into account, or you're not telling the story right, if you screw up somehow when you're telling the story, that slow burn turns into a slow draw. Instead of smoldering and you're like anticipating something's going on, the slow build is what I was trying to say. The slow build is where you take a bunch of characters in a situation you don't know and you slowly start building on it. Lost was a slow build writ large. Okay, Heroes was a slow burn. Okay, you get the idea? For those of you who watched Heroes, and if you don't, go look it up on Wikipedia. I'm not about to try to explain it. Heroes was a slow burn. That's where it's done right. First season. After that, it just went, it just jizzed all over everything. Lost was a slow build. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know any of the characters. You had to build it's like putting together a puzzle.
But it had you hooked.
But it had you hooked. That's if you're doing the storytelling right. If you blow it with the slow burn and then you blow it with the slow build, you get what's called a slog. And that's what season 1 of WandaVision is. You're sitting there waiting. You're waiting. The audience who knows who the Scarlet Witch and the Vision are, they know what's going on, but there's nothing there to keep them interested in it. Okay, because it looks like, well, for one thing, it's shot in black and white, which is an artistic thing, which is an incredibly expensive decision they made, by the way, because nobody does black and white anymore. There's no black and white film.
No, people don't like
high definition video doesn't work that well in black and white. And like you said, a lot of younger people do not like watching black and whites anything. So you're already got 3 strikes against you before you've even started telling a story. And so it turns into a slog. You have put all these barriers up between you and your audience, and that's why season 1 becomes a slog. For those who stuck around for episode 2, they do it better because this time they've taken that conceit from the first episode, and they're building upon it. So you're sitting there, and it's like you're stuck in the mud, and you're just trying to get through it. Episode 2, you're finally to the end of the mud, and you're pulling yourself out, and you're shaking the mud off and stuff, and then you get to your feet and you start walking. That's what happened in season 2. You have escaped the slog. Now you're starting to build. You're introducing concepts. The big spoilers. The big red and yellow helicopter in the bushes. Yeah. Now, quick. Which Marvel character is identified with the colors red and yellow?
Iron Man.
There you go. Who created Jarvis?
Iron Man.
There you go. So we're starting to see the little hints. I told you about the AIM beekeeper guy climbing out of the manhole. Wanda sees him coming, and she's like, oh, no, no, no. And then rewinds the story, not the episode, rewinds the story back to the point where now she's back with the Vision. She can push the story in a different direction. So I think they're finally getting their feet under them. Basically, I'm going to tell you this. You can skip episode 1 of WandaVision and you won't miss much. Okay? You'll get the basic conceit of it, but it's not worth going through that episode. Okay? So, skip episode 1, start with episode 2. There is a recap at the beginning that explains what happened back in episode 1. That's all you need from episode 1. Then start on episode 2, give it a try. See if you're into it by the end of episode 2. I don't know if they're going to release 3 and 4 in week 2 or not, but if you are a Marvel fan, you've already slogged through 1 and 2 by the time you see this review. If you're not a Marvel fan, skip episode 1, go straight to episode 2 and watch the recap at the beginning of the episode, and then see if you can start getting into it. Yes. All in all, it was, like you said, episode 2's better, the show's getting better.
Yeah.
Okay? And I explained from a technical storyteller's point of view why that happened. And it does make a little more sense now, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
They missed the slow burn, and then they missed the slow build. They went into a slog. Now they're back to slow build. They're starting to build. I think by the end of episode 2, we've seen her rewind the story. We've seen the color pop out of the black and white. We've seen, basically, I think the rest of the episode is going to be color from this point on, judging from what happened at the end of the episode.
And we're definitely going to get more action sequences of what's going on in the real world, because we saw it in the trailers.
Right. So we've gone from the slog in episode 1 to the slow build in episode 2. I think we'll be up to slow burn in episode 3, and then we'll really start rolling in episode 4. That's if things develop the way these things have usually developed whenever I see somebody stumble like that out of the block. And you can't really blame the storytellers for doing it, because they were taking a risk, which is awesome, but it's also, it's not always a good thing when you
it's one of those, like, again, this was one of those shows that, going off the trailers, it's like, okay, so you know that they're going to do, sitcoms from the trailers, and so, but going into this, it's like, I wasn't expecting anything like, oh, this is going to be cinematic awesome, like The Mandalorian, because they're doing, like, comedy skits from old TV shows. That's what I got from the trailer. But I didn't know exactly what to expect going into this. I was just like, okay, so, yeah, trapped in her mind type of thing. I get that. It's just, I don't know, like, it's like in the first episode, humor was so dry. Like, oh, I stumble. Oh, It's like,
which is another Dick Van Dyke reference.
Yeah. It's like it worked back then. Now it's just like, it's been done a billion times and everything. It's like, it's not really funny no more.
It's almost like, hey, we're doing the Dick Van Dyke show. We're doing the Dick Van Dyke show. That's what the stumble is.
Yeah. But the second episode, it was like, okay, so we're now interested into these new characters, because the neighbor, what's her name, that appeared in the first episode, who's played by a comedian, I can't remember, she's a Saturday Night Live actress, But in the second episode, she's sitting in this thing and she's like taking like alcohol drinks and be like, why are we here? Like seriously, like like she's just drinking underneath the. It's hilarious, and the whole show of them like this magic show, and Vision's like half drunk, and then Wanda's like covering up, be like, it's an illusion, It's just it's really funny. Like I was like, okay, I'm stuck with this. I love these characters that they brought in, like that group of guys that was sitting around the table, and he's like, I have something. What's his name is a communist, and they're all like, like that. It was funny. It was really funny. So if they keep on doing stuff like that in the series, matching it with the wit of what's going on in her real world, then it'd be good. But yeah, like if it any more episodes is like the first one, it's not going to go too far.
The thing, I'm going to say one more thing before we wrap the review. The thing about TV shows, this is the difference between TV shows and movies. Okay, DC did it, Marvel does it, just about everybody does it. Your A-list properties go to movies. They go to the theaters, or at least they used to. They would go to the theaters, get the big theatrical release, because that's where all the big money was. Okay? Yeah. TV gets your B-listers. Okay, so like that's where the streamers are right now. They're getting the B-listers. They're getting Scarlet Witch and the Vision. They're getting Winter Soldier and Falcon. They're getting all the B guys. You won't see a Captain America TV show. You won't see a Thor TV show. You won't see, sure as hell won't see an Iron Man TV show. Considering those cost millions per second to produce. So you won't see any of the A-listers there. So with the B-listers, that's all they'll let them have on the TV shows. But on the other hand, because they're B-listers and you're not that valuable, you're allowed to take more risks with them.
Right.
And again, in this time around, episode 1, it burned them on the butt. Episode 2, they managed to salvage some of it to get and start getting you some the traction into the show. I can't imagine they would go into a second season on this. So this has to be like a one-season thing.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of... We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
But, I mean, we can definitely see... I mean, this is how they're doing it because they know that the next phase, whatever it is...
Phase 4 is
Phase
what they're going into.
They know that Phase 4 is going to be a whole new group of superheroes. But people still want the old characters back, so that's why these TV shows are existing, because people want to know what happened to that person. What happened to that person? Yeah, right. It's like we still fall in love with these old, group because that's when it started. It's like this new group we'll be going into, and it's like, yeah, but it won't be the same as the old group.
Yeah, and the other thing too is you think Marvel's good. Marvel probably could get Iron Man back. They could probably get the.
Oh yeah, they can get them all back.
I'm sure they could. I'm sure they'd get Chris Evans back as Captain America. They could. I don't know why in hell I just forgot his name. Iron Man.
Oh,
I cannot for the life of me. Anyway, they can't afford the big guys right now, but they could afford the smaller guys, and because they're building up steam for these characters and stuff. So I'm actually looking a little more. I'm looking forward a little more to the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm actually looking a little more forward to Winter Soldier than to Falcon.
That and Loki.
Loki, it depends on. Loki is another one of those quantum characters who can do things, and he would have loads of fun with Vision as.
Yeah.
Just dicking with him, because there was actually a series a while back where Loki dies and is reborn as a little kid, and so he starts out trying to be a good guy, but he's Loki, so he's like determined. He's destined to be a bad guy, and he just keeps getting trapped up in all these bad guy things. He doesn't mean to. It's just the way it happens. He's a trickster. It's the way it happens.
Loki, I had this crazy idea with Loki, because when we finally got the trailer for Loki, you saw that Okay, so now we know what happens to him in Endgame when they all went back in time and he just disappears with the Tesseract and stuff like that. He's in trouble with like the time police. But you also see him kind of messing here and there with history. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if you had Quantum Leap, except it's Loki, and Loki's just messing around with history? And I'm like, wouldn't that be an awesome show? He's like mischief, so he's like going around in history going like, you know.
There's an awful lot of... If you've ever seen the series Drunk History...
Oh, no.
That would be Loki doing Quantum Leap, I think. But that would just be one of those things that would have a drinking game after like the second episode. But anyway. So the final determination on WandaVision. Yes, no, keep trying.
If it wasn't for the second episode keeping me, if it wasn't for them releasing 2 episodes, because again, it makes sense now, because at the beginning I was like, wow, they released 2 episodes? That's weird.
Now you know why.
And yeah, now I know definitely why.
Kevin Feige's in charge of Marvel, and Jon Favreau's essentially in charge of Star Wars right now. So with those 2 guys in charge, then yeah, I have a little more hope for both franchises right now. And after seeing Soul, I actually have hope in Pixar. So maybe Disney's not quite done yet. So they may be able to pull if they could pull their butts out of the fire, if they can pull their heads out of their butts.
Yeah. You know but it is worth it. It is worth it.
So we'll go ahead and wrap this then. I would say try episode 3 and give it a couple more episodes and see what you think. And like I said, skip episode 1.
Yeah.
I think we both agree on that. So, till next time, like
Chris
show, we will see you down the road.
You can't see me. I was just like...
Mirror Land is a very dangerous land. Night all.